slide presentation, it was because I realized, and before I get started, let me introduce myself. I'm Linda, a nurse practitioner. I'm a doctor of nursing practice at DNP. And hi. So, as I was saying, when I came up with this slide presentation, I realized that I was a recovering sugaraholic. And you know that saying is that you are what you eat. So I never thought about that until my sister told me that your butt sure is getting big. And I'm thinking, well, you know, it's kind of good to have butt, but mine was getting a little bit bigger. And so I realized that, okay, every time I go into Walmart, you know, I always buy these Krispy Kreme donuts. I was buying 12, but then I decided, well, let me share them with my grandkids, but then, you know, what they didn't eat, I ate. And so I said, well, you know, let me just cut back down to 6. And so I tried to avoid, you know, buying them, but I noticed that Walmart put them at the doorway, so I couldn't help for buying them. So I'm like, you know, they were adding to my butt. And so I realized is that, you know, and looking at what I was taking in, because I was doing cookies too, and I realized that, you know, sugars were everywhere, because if they were not at the front door, they moved them over to by the clothing section. So I think that they were messing with me when they were doing that. But when we look at sugars, sugars are everywhere. And when we think about it, I looked at my cabinets in the kitchen, which of course I don't really cook, but I buy different things or whatever that contains sugar. And in my drinks, like if I stop at Starbucks a little bit, and so they're everywhere. And so it's just not, I realized is that it was not just a problem for me, but it was a problem for other people too. So if you raise your hands, how many of you are recovering sugaraholics? You think about that. Okay.
Like, I didn't get this way by not being able to do that and sugar and carbs from my absolute. I've never been a tough, I've always been eating one.
Well, the thing is, okay, we are all, every day, when we think about where sugars are in those pastries that they bring, those cookies, you know, Christmas time, people made all those cookies and they look so good. Tasted very good too. And then, you know, I have a collection. I'm not an alcoholic, let me just tell you this. But I collect liquor. And so when I was thinking about it, people drink all the time and they tell me, Linda, I drink wine or I have these bourbon balls. And I'm like thinking, okay, well, why are they not losing weight and stuff? But, you know, you have a lot of sugars and these alcohols and stuff. And so that's going to impact your weight also. And then, of course, there's the coffee. Now, we just can't have coffee. We load it up. You know, we got to have a little, you know, creamer in there. And so most people think, well, you know, I put creamer in there, you know, and I'm drinking, you know, like the coffee. I put a little sugar in there, not much. And then I put 2 of the sweet loaves in there, so that makes it all better. But you think about their sugars and that creamer. So that's something that's contributing to your sugar intake. And then, of course, there's sodas. Today I found out, I was like trying to figure out why was this young lady not losing weight. I had her on, you know, an appetite suppressant. She's exercising. She told me she's drinking water. But then in the afternoon, she's having that 32 ounce of sodas. And she blames it on the convenience store that is selling that. So, but there's plenty of sugar in the soda. So why do we indulge? Anybody know why?
It makes us feel good.
It makes us feel good. When we are all emotional, things happen. We live. Life happens. So there's so many different issues going on. I mean, at home, there's stress, your kids are acting up, you want to put them out, don't like your husband, there's so many things. There's work issues, people upset you, somebody ran in front of you, almost hit your car. So those things, those are emotional things, are why we indulge in sugars. And so it's those emotional challenges that we have. When we are tearful, what do? We eat. It makes us feel good. It's just like, oh my God, that person got on my nerves so bad or whatever. Let me just have that Krispy Kreme donut and I'm going to feel much better. So emotional challenges causes us to have those sugars. We also have temptation. When somebody brings something to the office and they say, oh, just try a little bit, and they just put it right there in front of you and you're like passing by it and you're eyeballing it and you're thinking, well, I guess I could have just a little bit. A little bit goes into, well, it tastes really good because the sugars are in there. It's going to make it taste really good. So you're going to have another one. And then it's like and what better Valentine, I don't know how many boxes of candy. Somebody was loving on me, giving me boxes of candy and wanted me to eat them. I'm like, no way. So the temptation is there. And then we have availability of foods. Now, how many places that the kids eat free and you're going to go there, And of course, the kids want to go to IHOP all the time. And then I like to heat up that syrup, and you know what? It just makes more. And I realized my family said, are you going to have pancakes with that syrup? That was in the past. But I kind of avoid IHOP right now. And then, of course, Golden Corral eat as, those buffets, and they have all that chocolate just pouring down there, and you can put the marshmallows in there and all the cookies and all that stuff. So it's availability of foods. And that's one of the reasons why we indulge too. And then how about the weekend, Gee whiz. Man, we worked a whole week, Monday through Friday, dealt with all this stuff. Weekends coming, we need to go out and celebrate. So how many of you do that? Like, girl, come on, let's go on out here. You meet at this place here, you have some drinks, and you have all this food, and then you're like, okay, that's not enough. Saturday night is coming. So you're celebrating. You know why? Because I worked all week long, and believe me, I had to do all this stuff. And they're wanting this. I had deadlines. I had to stay late. And so you celebrate. And everybody, what do we do most? Anytime we have any celebration, what's involved in that? Food. And food comes with, you got to have desserts to go along with that. Otherwise, people going to talk about you. If you just have food there and you don't have dessert when they're coming over, they're like, they didn't have anything good. If you don't have dessert, people are like, you don't have anything good. So celebration and the weekends are also factors why we indulge. So I look at sugar like a drug. Because, it has the same properties. We crave for it, don't you? It's like, man, I just want that chocolate. You licking your tongue, you thinking about it, going to bed or whatever. Your husband over there saying, hi, honey. You thinking, oh, God, I just want a chocolate. And, you're just craving for it. You got the taste for it. I mean, it's just like, I'm going to eat this food, but I want some chocolate, or I want a Krispy Kreme donut, and in the middle of the night, you're thinking, I can't sleep, I want that donut, okay? And then you have withdrawals. If you don't get it, let's just say you've been off sugars for 2 days, man, you're going to bite somebody's head off. And they're like, well, what's going on? I'm hormonal, you know, and it's only because you're having those withdrawals. Think about cocaine, you know, you crave for it. Now, I don't know too much about it because I don't do that. But just wanted to let you know that. Okay. We just want to clarify that, okay? So, yeah. Yeah, I saw it on CSI. Good one. But, and you know, well, of course, you know when you're off drugs, you detox, and you just shake stuff. And the same thing with sugars. You know, you have headaches when you don't get sugar. You feel bad. And you're like, oh my God, I just gotta have this. Please go away, kids. Just leave me alone. I just need a peace of mind or something. So the same thing like drugs. Sugar is like a drug. You crave for it, you have withdrawals, and you have to detox. And that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna detox. And I did not have sugar today. So the American Heart Association says that the daily recommendation for sugar. So men should have at least 9 teaspoons, no more than 9 teaspoons of sugar a day. So which is 36 grams or 150 calories. Women, 6 teaspoons, 24 grams, and 100 calories. And tell me, how many people just go over that? I mean, can you imagine that? 6 teaspoons? I mean, they put that in the coffee. You know, it's like, wow, I've had my sugar in my coffee, but then you have the rest of the day. So what are you going to have? So even though they recommend that, yet we consume more each day. And we're just keeping all these people in business because they're making more sugar and then we're just eating it. So sugar leads to weight gain. You know, you are what you eat. It's going to stick to you. Because the body is going to hold on to it. And somebody mentioned about, you know what, they had some sugar, they gained some pounds or whatever. Sugar holds water. It holds water. So when you eat it and you get on that scale, you're going to weigh a little bit more. And so when sugar leads to weight gain, what happens is that we get this thing called obesity. And obesity, it comes with friends, okay? So it's just not going to stand there by itself and say, I'm just going to stand alone. Because if it was by itself, we could deal with it better. But no, it comes on, it's like, let's see, I'm going to throw a little gout in there. So you start walking and you're like, ooh, what happened there? And then you got the joint pains. And the bad thing about it, you know what? It has some powerful friends. You know, it's like the diabetes, and then you know what? Then you got to take the insulin, and insulin is like a hunger hormone, and it just makes you hungry, and so you're eating more, and then your blood pressure going up because, you know, you got high blood pressure, and then, you know, you got the coronary artery disease. It says, well, let me just throw a little chest pain in there, and so you're just like, oh my God, you know, what's going on? But obesity, like I say, it has a lot of friends. It's a multi-factor disease. So this is what happened when we gain weight, because it brings along its friends. You know, the longer you have it, the more friends you have, and it impeaches upon your quality of life. Because you notice these things that we take for granted until we cannot do them. You know, and one of the things is crossing the legs. You know, it's like I couldn't cross my leg, but now I can. You can put the leg all up there and kick and everything. And, you know, I see some people, they're just like moving. Oh, yeah, I can move now. And I'm like thinking, okay. But when you have that, you can't. So we want to get rid of obesity and its friends, you know, the BFFs and stuff like that. You know, who needs friends like them? So how do we overcome our addiction? What do you think? How do we overcome this addiction? Eliminate. Detox. Substitution. Stay away from the temptation. What if the temptation is in your house? You gonna kick your husband out? Okay. Okay. Well, let's think of other things instead of kicking people out of the house, okay? I can just see it now. They're coming up to the clinic saying, you told so-and-so to kick me out of the house. So we don't want to do that. Okay. So, but we can say no. So when that person in the office come over here and say, hey, you want some of this candy here? And you're like, nope. But they're like, well, but it's good. And you're like, what part of no did you not hear? You know, you just say no. You want to avoid those high carbs and sugars. One can have no smaller or greater mastery than mastery of oneself. Sounds like I would have said that, but he said it. Okay? So the thing is that you want to empower yourself. Okay? As they say, these women, very independent, they empowering themselves, but you want to empower yourself and just say no. And when you start saying no, people get the message. And a lot of times we don't want to hurt their feelings or anything. We're like, okay, well, let me just have a piece of it. But if you say no, they will get the message. Okay? And then, of course, we're going back to those weapons. We want to eat protein. Men should have at least 80 grams of protein a day. Women should have at least 60 grams of protein. And if you eat the protein, it's going to fill up that pouch so you don't have room for anything else. Okay? And then it's going to keep your blood sugar at a level all through the day. So it's not going up high and it's not dropping down, because when you eat carbs and sugars, it shoots that blood sugar up, and then all of a sudden it drops it down, and then you're looking for food. And that's how it works. And usually before you had surgery, around 3 o'clock in the afternoon, what happens? You go looking in drawers for snacks. Anybody got any chips? Because that's the only thing that you have in the office, or a piece of candy, because you're hungry. Because that lunch meal that you had, and it was high in carbs, and it raised your blood sugar up, and then all of a sudden it dropped it back down, and then you're hungry. Same effect with Chinese food, high in carbs. You can pack all that food in your belly, and 2 hours later, are you hungry? Yes. Okay. And then fiber. I did. Okay, fiber is found in mainly fruits, vegetables, whole grains, and legumes. So, but we should incorporate fibers in our diet. One of the things that most of your foods, a lot of your foods are going to have carbs, and especially some of your vegetables that people eat, and they'll tell me, oh, let me eat all these vegetables and stuff like that. I'm like, no, because they want to eat certain things which are more in carbs, like carrots. And I'm like, no, don't. I want you to eat these and not that, okay? So you do have carbohydrates in some of your vegetables, but the most important thing with the vegetables is to eat them because of the fiber. The fiber fills you up. It expands, and so it keeps you from being hungry, and one of the other good things is that it helps to absorb some of those carbs. That's what it does. And then drinking plenty of water. So realistically, we give you this number, and we say drink at least 64 ounces of water a day. That's just a number. So a lot of you that come in and you're like, well, Linda, I'm drinking plenty of water. I said, well, drink half of your body weight And they're looking at me like, you must be out of your mind. But yes, sometimes the body does not know if it's hungry or, yeah, so drink some water. But also, water is so important because that liver, it helps to metabolize much better. So you want to drink that water, and then it flushes all the waste out of the body. And then the most important thing is exercising. You know, from young to old, you can exercise. And then, you know, there are limitations. You know, people have pain in the neck. They have back pain. They have knee pain. But yet, we have number of resources that you can go and help and to help you to exercise. But you have to at least get in some cardio, and you have to get in weight training. Weight training is very, very important for women. And if you're older, you need to get in weight training. We have a lot of factors against us. Age, of course, is one, but we're not going to talk about that. But our bodies need to have that training. We need to have the muscles. Now, some people, like myself, I don't like having muscles. I'm like, you know what? I want to have skinny arms, you know. But of course, as Dr. Cavasso tells me, Linda, it's genetics. And so you're going to have these big guns on your body. They're not going away. And so I'm trying to embrace that now, okay? But it's very important. So when I am not exercising, the good thing about it, my body is still burning calories. So I'm like, oh, okay, well, I'll take that, you know? So, but definitely exercises. Now, we have the Texas PT specialist that we refer you to, but also when you are, let's say, for instance, you cannot go and you're like, I can't go to the gym, I can't go outside walking because the weather is bad. So I will give you exercises in the office to do. And I will also tell you that there's apps, you know, free 30-day challenge that you can actually do at home. You know, use your kitchen counter and do your push-ups on. And so you can, you know, when we think about it, we were in the radiology room the other day because I'm like, okay, how many of you can do sit-ups? So this young lady over here says she volunteered. She's like, oh yeah, I can do sit-ups. I said, okay. Because I knew that when I started, I could only do 5. So I'm like, okay. But then as you do them every day, you can do more. Okay? So the thing is that you may only be able to do 5 push-ups. But if you do them on a daily basis, then you move up and up and up. And then you strengthen your body. And that's going to help you. So when we look at maintaining a healthy digestive system, okay, this is how this works. Sugars and carbs, they feed these bacteria in the stomach. And so them bacteria saying, oh, I love this person. I love them to death. And when you don't give them that sugar, they start rolling in your belly, and you're thinking, what is going on? They want you to feed them. And then, of course, you give them some more sugar. They're happy. They are so happy. And then they're like shooting off gas, playing around in there, elbowing you and stuff. And you're trying to figure out, well, and then they kind of, you know, your belly sticking all out because they're just playing and, you know, causing all this gas and stuff. And you're just wondering, what is going on? So those harmful bacteria that are there, when we use probiotics, they replace them. And so what happens is they get rid of those little things right there, and so they are not asking you to feed them sugar. So therefore, it helps to decrease that sugar craving there because you don't have those things in there, those parasites saying, feed me, okay? So the probiotics, and we use the Indumune. I use it at home because it helps me. And so I'm like, oh, let me get my bottle. And then I even get a few samples, too, just in case I leave it at home. And I make sure I keep it in my drawer. So, but it definitely helps. It replaces those harmful bacteria with good bacteria. And so, which helps to decrease that sugar craving. And that's something that helps in decreasing the need for the sugar. The other thing is support. So we all need support in this. We need to set goals and we need to own it. This is what I'm doing. You know what? I'm not worried about you over here. I've got this. And you need to set the goal. You need to have the motivation and accountability. Coming into your appointments is accountability. When you don't come to your appointment and you're sitting there and you're thinking, I'm gaining weight, oh, what am I going to tell them? Oh, I just hate to go, I'm so embarrassed. We all gain weight. We live. We have to live. So, but you want to have a buddy system? Get a friend and say, hey, let's go do this. Let's do this. Let's go to the gym together. Planning your meals and saying, hey, let's eat this on this day. If you're going to work together, let's eat this. And then just living life and then loving yourself. Because if you don't, you're not going to want to do these other things, set goals. If you're not living, why would you set goals? If you're not having fun, if you're not doing anything, if you're just at home and saying, well, I got this, but I'm just going to sit at home and I wanted to go on a cruise, but, I'm not, I can't do it. So you're not living. You've got to live, okay? And then love yourself. Love everything about yourself. Even if, we all have faults. We all say, you know what, I don't like this about myself. But when you really look at it, you know what, you're perfect. So, and you have to look at it in that sense to love yourself. And as Frederick Douglass said, without a struggle, there can be no progress. And so we have to go through a struggle. And all of you have been through a struggle because it's not an easy task. We only provided the tool. You did the work. You struggled when you were like right after surgery and you were having that nausea and you were like, oh, I can't stand those supplements. And you were like, oh my God, if I have to eat broth again, I'm going to puke. And so those are struggles. But look at you now. Okay? So we got people that are, out for years and years. And I always call them glamorous, looking all hot and when they come into the office and stuff. I'm like saying when I grow up, I want to be just like you. So, and almost last, any event that, the struggles are still there after you've tried different things and you're feeling like you're so hungry. Every time I eat, I'm so hungry. I hear this a lot. And, I'm thinking in my mind, I know why you're hungry. I know about that blood sugar and I know about all these things that's happening in your body. And so in the event that you're still struggling, there's also medications that we provide you that help you with that hunger. Because what the problem is that blood sugar is messing with you. You're still getting in some carbs because you're not quite there. And so what we do is we help you to decrease that insulin, that sugar level, and so that you maintain a normal insulin in your body. And then last, we have counseling, which I thought was like so awesome. When I went up there, I was so impressed. I'm like, oh my God, I could go up here for lunch and maybe, like kind of sneak in because they have these wonderful things up there. And maybe they'll let me like get in because they have this. Well, I just want to go up there and hang out in their women's spa because I just love it. And their dining room, I'm like thinking, I'm going to get these ideas for my dining room. You take somebody's dining room table and everything out of this glamorous dining room and you set it inside the therapy room. I'm like, man, I would live up there. They need beds. You guys need some beds up there. But they are a support system for us. And, a lot of times we eat not because we're hungry, it's because there's things going on. There's always a reason behind it. And so a lot of times when, the patients come in, we may not always have that time to spend with you to find out exactly what's going on. Because most of the time there's, my husband is in the hospital, something happened to my sister, this is what's going on, I had to go to court over my grandkids and stuff, and, I can't do this, because there's a reason going on. And so we want to identify that reason, and that's why we have the bariatric counseling to help us, to help you overcome that. And so I am going to ask one of the representatives, who is a psychologist.
Hi, I'm Dr. Sarah Hamilton. I'm a psychologist at Bariatric Counseling Center. I actually wanted to piggyback off of the support slide. If there's a way to go back to that. So much of this presentation today, I talk with my hands and just keep this near my face. So much of what we do is designed to help so many of the things that you talked about in this slide is to help you guys support what you're doing already with your doctors. So we are a counseling center that's designed for people who are preparing for surgery or who have recently had surgery or had surgery years ago. We're all learning about this population. We are a brand new facility. This is the first one in the country like this. This type of service doesn't exist anywhere else. So if you were to come with us, you'd be part of this brand new group and to help us figure out how to best help people who are undergoing this type of change. And that's what we're excited about, is to help people be part of changing their life in a variety of ways. So I thought I would talk about specifically how we have programs in place to help with these specific things. We're a group therapy model, so you would be coming for 3 hours a day. We're going to eventually have a morning program. Right now we're an afternoon, evening program that will be starting next week. It would include 2 group therapy sessions and a nutrition and cooking session with our dietitian. I think I'm going to be sneaking into our cooking classes as well. We're talking like lobster tail type stuff on the menu. She's really talented, and she's going to help people feel like you have a bigger variety of foods to choose from. And then you also have the skills to prepare them and not just get home and be like, oh my God, how did they make this? You'll actually prepare it yourselves in class, as well as be able to have a meal there with us. So I'll talk a little bit about this. In terms of goal setting, I have a group that I'll be leading that helps help you formulate your goals so that they're more achievable, and to help you measure your goals so that it doesn't feel like some far off distant point that you're never going to reach. It helps you reach steps quickly so you feel more motivated to keep going towards the bigger goals. We have really the buddy system. What we want is to help you guys build a community, that you have a chance to learn from each other, support each other, that you're not relying on the staff that works there for support, but that you have people that you can reach out to at the end of the day when you leave us. Though I will say almost half of our staff has had weight loss surgery themselves, so they know the reality of the process, and a lot of them have worked with people who have had bariatric surgery, so they know both sides, kind of the professional side as well as the personal side. The accountability, same thing. It's an intensive outpatient program. We'd like people to come twice a week, ideally, so that you have people that you're excited to see, people to show up, people to support you, and you get to help hold each other accountable in a supportive way. Let's see. Owning it. I really like that idea. A lot of the groups I'm doing are rooted in this idea of mindfulness, which is a way of paying attention to yourself and accepting everything about yourself in kind of a non-judgmental way, with the idea that then you can take in everything about yourself and change what you want to without doing it in kind of a reactionary negative way, but in a way that's living out your values and living out your things that are meaningful to you. And we help connect the weight loss surgery to your values, so that I like the idea of going through the doorways and you're practicing your weapons, that you're practicing your values every time as well. And you get to think about those things and your health as part of your values. Let's see. The living life, that's what we want to help people do, and to live a life that's more full. And with that, the idea of just saying no to people who are trying to push you to eat things, and people that have mothers that are like, you don't love me if you don't eat this lasagna that I made for you. How to have conversations with them, how to be more assertive. We help people identify, they're like, no, I can be assertive at work, I can be assertive with my partner, but with my sister, I just can't do it. To help people have a variety of tools and to support the tools that you guys are developing with your surgeons and with your nurses and with your dietitians. We just want to give you a space to practice those. We also have, I'll talk a little bit more about our staff. We have a licensed clinical social worker who has a lot of experience working in addiction treatment. So a lot of what we're talking about with the sugar properties, he's able to use treatment models based on other addictive substances to help treat food addiction and the ways that the brain responds similarly, and use that information to help you guys respond differently and respond in ways you would like to those foods, and use all of these tools to respond differently to the cakes and all those things that are tempting us every day. So I've got information in the back. We have a sample schedule of what our kind of curriculum would look like, so you guys see an idea of what we have to offer. I have my cards back there, so on your way out tonight, if you'd like to pick those up, those are available to you. Thank you.
It's really awesome up there. You guys will love it. And so, any questions? Yes, ma'am.
One thing that really bothers me when you're talking about with regard to artificial sweeteners, and that they're just as bad as the real sugar, and we're talking about the liver. I use stevia in my coffee, and I always have unsweet tea, and I'll put some in that. Really, how bad is it? I mean, that's so terrible.
Well, actually, stevia is really, really good, and we definitely recommend that. There are, and Heidi can talk a little bit more on the sugars substitutes. There are some that you don't, research has shown that they cause cancer and all that stuff like that. And then sometimes when you're overusing those artificial sweeteners, is that they can mimic the sugar effects and act like sugars. And so, and then too, you build up like, let's say, a kind of a resistance to them. So you're using a little bit more each time with them. And so, but that would be something that if you want to talk a little bit more about the artificial sugars on that.
I mean, my philosophy is on sweeteners is that they're a good alternative, but just because they're calorie-free doesn't mean they're a free food. Because of what she was talking about with the probiotics, there's pretty good evidence that large concentration of the artificial sweeteners throw off that healthy bacterial balance. It also, there's good evidence that they trigger the pleasure and pain centers in the brain, so they can increase hunger, increase cravings for sweets. So my recommendation is, I don't think with any of the sweeteners we really know which one is better. I'm not convinced that stevia or the Truvia, unless you're actually eating the stevia leaf, the Truvia is still processed. So I say use whichever ones you want, but just try to stay less than like 4 artificially sweetened things in a day. That's my opinion.
Any other questions? Yes.
So you said